Hello everyone and welcome back to season 2 of the PGN Podcast. This podcast has one simple message: to normalise the conversation on resilience, our environment and our future in a climate changed world, with our communities at the heart of it all. Our primary goal is to foster discussions about flooding, climate resilience and related environmental issues to better support communities. We're here to take a deeper dive into the conversations we began in season 1. We will be connecting hearts and minds, ambition, passion alongside our community and experts. Together we'll work towards building a more resilient future in our ever-changing world. I am Meshi Taka, the project lead for Project Groundwater Northumbria, which is what PGN stands for, and your host for this season. Let's jump right in. What is a sustainable home? I think depending on what you need, that could mean different things. Today we'll be speaking to Anna Hastings about the Lego Flood House.
Hello.
And what Blue Heart Project, a fellow FCRIP project, is trying to do. Anna, welcome to the PGN Podcast.
Hello, thank you for having me and inviting me.
Tell us a little bit about you, your role and your project.
So I'm Anna Hastings. I am the project manager for Blue Heart, but I'm actually from East Sussex County Council. So joined the council actually the week the FCRIP funding was announced, coming straight from consultancy on a graduate scheme to my boss basically pointing in the direction of FCRIP going, there's about £200 million available. Do you fancy having a go at putting a bid in? So that's kind of where I got to today, and so I was successful in that. So Blue Heart is essentially a project down in Eastbourne and Southern Wealden, looking at innovative approaches for better understanding water levels and all sources of flood risk.
How's it been so far then?
I think you can definitely relate to that. It's carnage, but it's incredibly rewarding and I love it personally. It's really kind of taken over my life and every day is very different.
I mean, my personal experience with Project Groundwater Northumbria, like I said, FCRIP as well, is mostly passion driven. So you come into work and you feel like you finally have the resources to try something completely different, completely disruptive. Has that been the same for you?
Yeah, passion and personality driven. So as much as I consider myself an engineer, I'm an incredibly creative person. So when you're working on innovation programs, you have to be creative, adaptive and agile. So it's been fantastic to kind of have a really open net and a loose scope to then bring in some of that creative side of me, both in terms of some of the outputs we're doing, so working with the arts and our branding. So yeah, I've loved it for that reason. It's definitely not the business as usual.
Like you say, engineer, project manager, you think of like delivery and think of milestones. But with these projects, branding, commercials, initiatives, Lego Flood House, all sorts. So talking about the Lego Flood House, please introduce us to what you've brought here today.
So this is Shu. This is the Lego Flood House. Kind of has a number of different reasons how this came to be. So one of the main things being Blue Heart was never meant to be a property flood resilience project. It wasn't one of our resilience actions, but we wanted to find ways of still engaging with communities to raise awareness of what they can do themselves. So this kind of came about after an event about 12 months ago down in Polegate. Polegate is a community that recently flooded during our project timeline. And we hosted a public engagement event to kind of investigate the flooding afterwards and then advising people and raising awareness of what they can do themselves. I was unfortunately not able to come to that event. So in our kind of post-event debrief, we evaluated how we had an area for children to play with Lego whilst we spoke to the adults. And I made a remark of, wouldn't it be great if there was just a Lego kit that children could be engaging with and still learning about the subject rather than go over here whilst we talk to your parents.
So we talk to the grown-ups.
Exactly. And I think we should be really not be engaging with just adults or even just people who are at flood risk. We should be looking at the whole nation of all different ages and backgrounds. So that's how it came to be. And during that time as well, my dad had recently passed away. So I'd just come back to work and I was really, as you were saying with these projects and passion, throwing myself into work. And I kind of took it on as a bit of a personal project. what got me into engineering was playing with Lego and my dad encouraging me of, you can be an engineer one day because look at all these amazing models you're coming up with. And that really sparked with me at the time of, if we create something which is engaging for children, that might inspire them to also be future engineers.
It's
and
like connecting with your younger self and
exactly
remembering why you fell in love with engineering in the first place.
Yeah, and engineering isn't just about maths, numbers, science. It can be those creative minds of thinking on their feet and doing things differently. So that's how it came to be. But another really good thing about Lego that we realised is that when we're trying to communicate climate resilience and adaptation, Lego is the perfect language for that. It's universally understood for all languages. And when you're trying to communicate complex problems, you do need to tap into that, what's already good. So I can give you a little tour of the house.
Please show us how it works. I mean, it looks amazing.
So the main thing to highlight is that everything which is made in a yellow brick is a intervention of resilience.
Okay.
So starting off at the back here on the resilient side, we've got a flood barrier here.
Yes, I can see that.
Yeah. And then under here, we've got a sump pump under here. And here is showing automatic air bricks, and this is kind of showing how there's no water within the void as a result. At this door here, that's a traditional flood door.
Yeah, I've got the flood door on my side, yes.
Yeah, and even the furniture and the interiors have also been made resilient purposely. The table and chair are in yellow because they're easily able to be folded away and moved upstairs. The kitchen counters are also in yellow because they can be easily wiped down. And the fridge as well is raised up on a platform further up as well. And we've got family albums and valuables raised up in the attic. On this side as well, we've got, on both sides actually, the downpipes are shown in yellow because they are being disconnected into, on this side, a water butt, on that side, a planter. So as well as looking at flood resilience, it's looking at sustainable drainage as well.
So reusing water for irrigation and
which is why we've also got solar panels on here. So it's looking at resilience, sustainability as a whole. Whereas if we spin it around on the other side, we have the flooded side. So this is kind of highlighting, if you don't have these measures in yellow installed, what can happen. Water has entered the property and really just caused carnage and chaos. Furniture is floating all over the place and ruined. Even some of the furniture is knocked over, and even the faces on the people inside are just looking distressed. Water has entered into the void beneath the property, whereas on the other side we had automatic air bricks. And the main thing with this is that it's, when we've gone to events, it's really been our beacon to attract people to come over and speak with us. And a big part of our engagement strategy has been finding different ways to talk to people, and with them not realising the subject is flooding, so looking for different hooks. And this has definitely been one of those products for that, because everyone loves Lego. We even took it to a Lego festival in Brighton.
A Lego festival?
Yeah.
I had no idea there was a Lego festival.
It's a national event which kind of tours around the country, and you have really the top of their game Lego builders there, and there was thousands of people, and we got so many compliments on the design, but that was a way of engaging with people you wouldn't normally speak with, and also piggybacking on other events as well.
I mean, you've picked up on a number of points that just resonate with Project Groundwater Northumbria. The ability to engage with people outside the kind of traditional spaces that you would normally, so outside the engineering sector, outside just people that have flooded, but beyond that, because one of the things we've discussed is we need to make flood resilience accessible to all, especially in the context of climate change is happening at a much faster rate. So it's more about how can we be resilient as a whole, whether you flood at the moment or not. And this, I mean, visually it's engaging. I love things that are colorful, so I'm like straight in there. But it just makes it accessible. And going back to the point about you and your dad, it brings parents and kids together. It's like a connector. I mean, my son is obsessed with Legos at the moment. So he would be excited to see this house. He'll probably try and redesign his own version of it. He likes to build his own things. But having that conversation about resilience and linking up energy and flood resilience, which is probably something that's not explored enough in the current setting, it just makes it easier for people to consider it as one whole issue, as opposed to feeling like you have to deal with multiple streams of different issues in your household. So this is great. It also comes back to the whole being prepared for flooding, really. So if the worst does happen, this is a good visual of how you could recover a lot quicker.
Yeah. It's a conversation starter. And that's kind of, we've had people come over to us to just want to have a conversation, which has then led to conversation about other things, such as signing up for our flood warning service. But I do like how it can tap into different elements of FCRM. So, for example, over here, we've got our emergency rescue boats. It's starting to get people thinking about emergency planning.
Yeah.
What you touched upon about energy and sustainable drainage systems. Just kind of showing the impacts of flooding. So it can go in multiple different avenues. And we kind of designed it as more a showcase piece. And what I love about it, how it can be utilised in multiple different ways for multiple projects, multiple different needs, and very flexible and has free reign in that sense.
And I think it gives people some idea of how accessible some of these things are. Sometimes the feeling is it might be too much of a hassle to perhaps consider a flood door, but then you can see here that there are other ways. There's the barrier compared to a door, but then the fact that a flood door looks very similar to a standard door, I think it just plants the seed of normalizing that embedded resilience in people's homes, isn't it? So it's great to see. How long did this take?
Do you mean
to
like
design and then get it together? And
so the full process was this was built in partnership with Blue Heart and the Environmental Design Studio. So that's Ed Barsley's organisation. So he was the designer of the Chelsea Flower Show Flood Garden. So we had kind of had the perfect person on board with the project. So we did a few workshops, both as a project team and then going out to industry, other FCRIPs and leads in the PFR sector to kind of mind map what would need to be in the house. And there was a lot of debate, particularly over the colour of floodwater. Floodwater usually is brown, but does that actually work when you're trying to engage? So there was about a month of workshops there. Then we kind of spec'd out what our design was, which was largely based off Ed's book, actually. And then we handed it over to the Lego experts. So we had two people on board who essentially did a sprint design in a software called Bricklinks. Completely free software. And it has an infinite catalogue of Lego bricks, and you can customise all the colours. It's everything that exists currently on the market. So that's built in a 3D model. Took them about a week, and we kind of went backwards and forwards with the design. We had two designers, so we wanted to kind of have two different approaches running in parallel, and then we picked the winner at the end. And then from there, what is amazing about Bricklinks is that once you've got your design, your model, there's a button at the top which is just add to cart. So it adds to your cart, and then you can purchase all the bricks from different vendors around the world on this database system, and then it comes to you. It did take about 6 weeks for all the bricks to arrive, because some were coming from, I seem to remember, like South Korea, America. Our most valuable piece. I don't think she's in there. Oh no, she is in there. So we have the black cat, which is Missy the cat. £20.
Oh, Missy the cat's a celebrity, though, we know Missy.
Exactly, she's a celebrity, and that's something that came out quite obviously from our workshop with linking it in with the Be Flood Ready campaign, so having little nuggets there. So once all the bricks arrived, we kind of passed it around the team over about a week to build it. I have to say, it ended up being about 80% me.
It's amazing how it just replicates how we use our homes. You have the pets, a dog, kitchen with a side door to the garden.
So the dog is a little bit of a coming soon, so a sequel to Missy's Tale.
Oh.
So that is Stanley the dog, and more will be revealed about that in the future.
Well, talk about little nuggets.
I know.
It's amazing. And obviously in your flood house as well, you've got using the loft space as part of a recovery space as well. So that's why you've got the yellow.
Yeah. The lady around the front as well, she's wearing a red jumper. That is Flood Mary inspired.
Oh, wow. I know Flood Mary.
You can't have a flood house without Flood Mary, can you?
Honestly, the storytelling is amazing.
Yeah, and it's more, the more you look at it, the more nuggets you find. I forgot to mention as well, from Bricklinks, so you're probably wondering, well, how did you know to build it? It automatically generates instructions.
Oh.
Which there were about 560 steps for about 2,800 Lego bricks, but it did make it less painful.
Yeah. Also, can I just ask, is this a semi-detached house? So one is, because you've got 3 in floor on the doors. On this side, you've got like number 3 and number 4.
Yeah, it is.
Huh. Just the little details. It's cool. It really is.
Yeah.
Are you pleased with how it turned out?
Exceeded all expectations, because when we were drafting this, I think the problem I just couldn't fathom was how do you represent the floodwater and show it kind of the inside, the outside. And because I used to do PFR surveys in my role in consultancy, I kind of have attention to detail, particularly on thresholds. So I was like, this has to be right in terms of showing where water's realistic. I think what made it work was the coming together of the sector. So probably my knowledge from my time in consultancy and those workshops, but bringing in the arts.
Yes.
So Ed's is traditionally an architect, and our 2 Lego designers have absolutely no background in flooding, but they could visualize and make it look engaging and appealing. I always say sometimes engineers shouldn't engage. So it's the bringing of the 2 worlds together that you end up with fantastic results like this.
I mean, I love anything that takes it outside the kind of traditional box. And I'm very similar to you. I truly believe the creative part is what makes engineering truly stand out. Obviously, PGN recently sponsored the Ikigai Festival, which is all around bringing the arts into engineering. I really feel like we're never going to get that nature-based, people positive end goal if we can't truly link up creative arts into engineering, because we're very good at problem solving, but sometimes that visualization we can limit the vision, and bringing somebody who has no preconceptions helps, because it can just bring a completely new dynamic. And I mean, you probably saw in your mind's eye, but to get it made, to have this in front of you must just be so rewarding, especially where it came from a personal.
I think it's been one of my favourite outputs of the whole project, and it was never in the original plan. But then kind of similar with the opportunity to work with the arts and pivot your project and your scope. That's what the beauty of FCRIP is, and I don't think would be possible on other funding streams and programmes.
I mean, I love your flood house. It's fantastic. And I think one of the things, the next challenge, what is the next challenge for this?
The next challenge is actually making this a reality. So when we designed it, we kind of took inspiration from Flood Mary's Floodmobile, or there's the, I can't remember the name of it. It's another kind of resilient house model, which is the size of this table. You can't really roll that out to everyone across the country. There's only usually one of them that exists. They're quite difficult to transport.
Yes.
This is a well-toured house. This has come all the way up from Brighton with me. It's been to the Netherlands and it's been to Germany recently.
It's more travel than me by the sounds of it.
More, yeah. And because of Lego, it's scalable in terms of the cost. So currently this costs about £600 just to buy all the bricks. But what we are trying to do is actually get this turned into an official Lego kit, to then bring the idea of PFR to actually every household, every community, to your high street. That's the dream. And how we're trying to do that is a platform called Lego Ideas, which Lego House is currently on. And we have until about June next year to reach 10,000 supporters. And once we get to that stage, Lego then kind of take in the cohort every quarter of who's reached 10,000 supporters and kind of vote internally of what is going to become an official Lego kit. So there's been loads over the years that I've met that target and are now in the shop. So we want to be the next one to do that. And that would significantly bring down the cost of making this house. We've estimated about £120. It's still quite a high-end kit, but it makes it so much more accessible. Instead of having this house available, we could have thousands of them. Every PFR scheme across the country, every school, or just your Lego enthusiasts wanting to have one. And that's really getting out the message on resilience.
Well, I think our listeners and viewers can surely help with that, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to put a link to the voting website, and hopefully after today and after seeing this amazing house, you get a few more votes. But you've definitely got my vote. And I'm sure my son's vote as well, and anybody that he tells, because he's not here, but he will be an ambassador once I show him a picture of this. So what's next for Blue Heart, the project? Because we spent all the time talking about your flood house, which is fantastic, but Blue Heart project, which is where this started from. What are some of your plans for the next year or the coming years?
Well, we're halfway now, aren't we?
Yes, we've just crossed the halfway point.
Yeah, so a big part of Blue Heart from day one has been around telemetry.
Yes.
So for Respawn and Southern Wealden, over the years, it's kind of been neglected in terms of data gathering, loss of knowledge. So that's one of the main reasons we got our funding in the first place, is plugging in those gaps. So up until now, we've installed over 90 new sensors in the catchment and have a new integrated model. So we're at the really exciting part of the project, which is, what are we going to do with all this data?
The data, yes.
So the main plan at the moment is a integrated flood warning system. So with our new sensor network, so there are sensors in watercourses, in boreholes, tidal gauges, highway gullies, and Southern Water's telemetry network, which is over 500 sensors themselves. And having that for the first time, that real-time live understanding of water levels, and then plugging into that forecasted rainfall and forecasted tidal levels to have a really sophisticated flood warning system. My main passion on the project is flood warnings, and particularly surface water.
Yes.
So the stats for Respawn is we have approximately 300 properties at risk of fluvial. That's covered by the Environment Agency's flood warning service. But we have over 4,000 properties at risk from surface water.
Yes.
And in my eyes, they are vulnerable. So that's kind of what we're wanting to address. And surface water flooding for flood forecasting is challenging by itself, and it hasn't really been done before. But we're plugging in all sources of flooding to kind of look at combined risk, back-to-back flood events, consideration of antecedent conditions. So that's the main thing we're chewing on at the moment. But yeah, that's kind of what's next for us. And then after that, we're looking at options for new schemes in the area using our newfound knowledge and intel. So a big part of that is retrofitting of sustainable drainage systems, mostly small-scale retrofit of kind of water butts for homeowners, our Suds for Schools programme. So we've been working with 9 schools this year, and literally this week we've started construction, which is so exciting. But I think in the latter stages of the project, again, with our telemetry system, we want to explore the idea of smart cities, of could we remotely control those Suds that we've had installed using our platform that Blue Heart's creating. So heading more in the technical and the delivery side, which is really exciting, but also probably the most challenging part of the project. But I don't think I'd be as passionate about the project if it wasn't challenging.
I mean, that's why these projects are so exciting and so unique. We get a chance to truly transform things that historically in our sectors have been difficult to get a handle on. and you're building the research through, then allows you to build the kind of forecasting and warning system. And we're fairly similar as well in that regard, where it's groundwater, and then we have the added bonus of mine workings, and there is no intelligence, and looking to build the intelligence and then the first systems. But the first is what gives rise to everything else. And this funding has allowed us the opportunity to do something truly transformative that in the current workplace of any LLFA, and obviously in Gateshead Council, it's quite challenging to do, because you have business as usual, you have other investment requirements, you have funding protocol that makes it really challenging to just step out and start something new. And it's been truly a blessing that the funding for FCRIP was made available. And we still have till March 2027, so we've got a couple of years to do some more work, or to come up with new ideas. There might be a flood house 2 or something else, which I'm really looking forward to. And I'm really excited about your house. I saw it at Flood and Coast. And I was like, oh, right, okay. And I was like, right, I'm going to have to call you and talk about like us sitting down and talking about this house in a bit more detail. But it is fantastic. And the pieces, so many little pieces. How long did it take again to put it together?
It was about 6 days, and we had it scattered across the office, and we kind of like rotated around. So it was usually, if I was on a work call, I would just be building it in the background. So yeah, 6 days, but that's because we were trying to get it ready for an event on the Saturday, and we only just got all the pieces finally arrive. We actually ordered 3 houses, which in hindsight we wouldn't do that again, because you then had to sort all 3 of the kits, so that was nearly 9,000 pieces of Lego.
Pile 1, pile 2, pile 3.
Yeah, it was poor Ed who had to organise it all in his spare bedroom.
Wow. No, I'm glad you did, because this is just a triumph. And thank you for sharing this with us today.
My pleasure.
It's been lovely having you join us. And to our audience, thank you for joining in. For more information on the topics discussed, please check our episode notes for relevant links. Thank you, Anna.
Thank you.
I had a great time. This is just fantastic. Project Groundwater, aka PGN, is a research and innovation project funded by DEFRA as part of the 200 million Flood and Coastal Innovation Programs managed by the Environment Agency. The programs will drive innovation in flood and coastal resilience and adaptation to a changing climate. This project is led by Gateshead Council with regional and national partners. PGN aims to enhance community resilience by developing and creating, mapping, forecasting and warning systems with a focus on groundwater flood risk, particularly in former mining areas within the region, but also on a national scale. With this funding, we're working on practical, innovative actions and knowledge sharing with our communities at the heart of it all. For more information on PGN, please visit www.pgn.org.uk.